Hey friends, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I wanted to talk to you all about quarterly reviews again because we just finished quarter 2. I cannot believe we are already past the midway point of 2023, and I want to share with you all of the wins, all of the fails, because yes, there were some fails, and everything that I learned from my Q2 review. I'm going to start off by just telling you a little bit about quarterly reviews, and then we'll get into the details of how my quarterly review went down, and then that'll be that. So let's get into it. By the way, friends, if I'm a little bit flustered, it's because it's like 94 degrees right now, so I'm gonna do my best to not melt while I'm talking to you. But what are quarterly reviews? You may have heard this phrase before in the workspace, and that's exactly where I got it from. I looked at that kind of structure with quarterly reviews and thought to myself, like, wow, when we're working, we really take ourselves seriously and hold ourselves accountable for work-related goals, deliverables, projects, etc. And I wanted to be able to take that same concept and apply it to my personal life, my personal goals, ambitions, projects, ideas, etc., all of those things that we set for ourselves at the start of each year. So I started doing it this year. I had my quarter 1 review and I've done a video on that before, but we're gonna be doing a quarter 2 review here where, like I said, I'm going to be holding myself accountable and looking through all of the things that I set for myself, things such as goals, ambitions, projects, etc., and see how well or how not well I have been doing thus far. Since this is quarter 2, that means we have just officially passed the halfway point of the year, so fingers crossed that I have done some progress. And I've actually already done my quarterly review, so I can say that I am overall proud of myself with how my review went. But the way that I essentially do a review is that I like to set up a vibe. I like to make sure that I am in a really good mental headspace to do this, so I'm not dreading it. And by not dreading it, that allows me to look forward to things like this. I feel like quarterly reviews in the workspace can sometimes be like, oh my god, anxiety, stress, all of those kinds of things. But if we set ourselves in a good space and turn this into something positive, it's definitely going to be helpful. So that's exactly what I did. I made myself a cup of coffee. I had like a feel-good playlist going on, all of those sorts of things, and then I just went right into it. And I pretty much documented my quarterly review in my bullet journal. I also used my Notion for some of it because in my Notion I have like more data specific type stuff, but in here I did sort of like a journaling kind of session, if you will. And it was very extensive, so I did things like words to describe quarter 2, milestone wins, biggest setbacks, stuff like that. So let's start with the wins. Some of the wins that I have here. I was pretty consistent with posting content online. I wanted to be able to keep track of not just like my Instagram, which is my biggest platform, but also here on YouTube, TikTok, things like that. I built the greenhouse, which was something that I kept going back and forth with wanting to do and not wanting to do, and then eventually ended up doing it. So that was a super big win for me. I also socialized more. I went out more. I had an in-person event where I was speaking, and I just really pushed my boundaries there, and I felt like that was a huge win, something that I really haven't done in a long time, let's say like years at minimum. So I was really proud of myself, and I definitely wanted to make note of those things. And then another win that I have here is that I started hiking. I want to be more in tune with nature. I wanted to go out more, explore more, things like that. And as you all know, I figured out that I live minutes away from the mountains. So now we do a lot of hikes, and I discovered that in Q2, so I wrote that down as well. So really great wins, not just for like social content kind of stuff, which is like my personal work kind of stuff, but also personal development, moving my body, socializing, getting out more, coming out of my comfort zone type of stuff. So it's a huge range of things that I have been working on, and I love the fact that my wins really reflect the diversity of things that I have been working on this year. So very happy about that. The biggest setbacks that I had for Q2, it's pretty much like work-related type stuff. I have been working on some projects for Slow Morning Diaries for a really long time, and there were just some projects where I kept saying, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next week. And then next thing you know it, the whole quarter passed and I hadn't done pretty much anything. One of those things was working on like a little mini zine / ebook kind of thing or guide, something like that. And I have definitely spoken to you all on Instagram about what you want to see in those little guides. I just haven't finished them. So I felt like that was the biggest setback in Q2, but another thing to move onwards with in quarter 3. All right, so the biggest lesson learned, there are just a bunch of prompts that I have here, and if you want these prompts, I did put it in my Instagram little broadcast channel, my Slow Morning Collective channel, so if you want to grab these, copy and paste them, they're gonna be there. But the biggest lesson I learned is that doing too much will eventually catch up to me, even if I feel like I can handle it in that given time. So burnout has always been a huge issue for me, and I feel like I'm super ambitious. I feel like I'm like a high functioning anxious person, so I can get a lot done, but I don't really stop and think like, maybe I should stop though. Maybe I should, you know, chill a little bit, pace these things out a little bit. And so in return, I end up burning out a lot. And so I wanted to make note of that as a lesson learned, because I definitely felt like there was a little bit of burnout, not intense, but a little bit of burnout coming onto the end of quarter 2. And I think that also showed in the fact that I wasn't able to complete some tasks was because I was just getting so exhausted by doing all the other things that I was working on that I would continuously push that same project that I was talking about. That was my setback in Q2. So that was a really big lesson learned, and it's something that I have continuously been like struggling with. So I'm kind of glad that I wrote it down so that I can remember it for next time. Let's see, I have things like money well spent, money wasted. I feel like that is important for me because I am on a budget this year. Worries that were unnecessary. There was something here, not completing something, in parentheses, it will get done, it's fine. And this, again, relates to the setback that I had. Like, even though it was a setback, it's fine. At the end of the day, it will get done. I will get to it. So I'm not gonna try and beat myself up too much about it. There were prompts such as time well spent. I have things such as hanging out, working on the podcast, connecting with followers, hiking, and then time wasted. Over here I have things like worrying, overthinking, stuff like that. And then I have other prompts such as good habits from Q2. So I did do some resting and I did like loosen up. I feel like I'm very uptight sometimes and I can have a bit of a temper, and I'm really continuously working on that throughout my adulthood. So I feel like I did really well with that in Q2. And then bad habits that I stopped in Q2, so from Q1 over to Q2, I stopped needing to be constantly in control of everything. I feel like in one example, like if I'm planning an event or an event is occurring, I have the tendency to want to control a bunch of pieces of it, like, oh, I can handle this, I can do this, I can do X, Y, and Z, and I'll like overly commit. And I feel like I was able to successfully step back in that example. And then a bad habit for me to drop in quarter 3. So moving forward, I definitely want to stop procrastinating. Again, this has to do with the setback that I have of me like saying, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next week, until it's like urgent, and then I'm like stressing out, and then I end up not doing it anyway. So I'm gonna try to go with an approach where I, again, break my goals into tiny little segments. I talk about this a lot to make it more accessible and less scary for me to feel like I need to procrastinate. I don't know. It's sort of like an anxiety thing with me where I tend to procrastinate because I'm overwhelmed of the thought of doing something. So perhaps if I break it down even more into even smaller, more accessible tasks, I will stop doing that. Fingers crossed for me. And then I have a list of things that I want to improve in Q3. So these are more like work-related type of stuff, but I did also want to highlight that I wrote down personal hobbies, because yet again, I always put my personal hobbies to the side, such as reading, playing video games, stuff like that. Like, I'll get started on those things and I'll have a really good start at the beginning of the quarter, and then by the end of the quarter, I've completely dropped off on all of my personal hobbies, and I've just gotten back to a bunch of work-related things and then burning myself out. So that was a very quick rundown of what I have written down in here. Again, there were a few more prompts in here that go into a lot more detail, so if you want all of the prompts, again, you can check them out on my Instagram little broadcast channel. I feel like those are widely available now, so you probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that's a little insight into my wins, my losses, and just all of the things that I've learned. Like I said, I love how dynamic and diverse my little roundup came up to be. It's not just about data, numbers, work-related things, growth things when it comes to like social and stuff like that. It also has a lot of personal things, just me overthinking, anxiety, ways for me to stop procrastinating, moving my body more, socializing. There's a huge range of things, and I think that's what's so special about doing these personal quarterly reviews, is that you get to see a huge lens into your life in a way that you would probably never even notice if you weren't doing these quarterly reviews. And someone sent me a message on Instagram recently where it was sort of like, to them, it was like getting a grip on their life and becoming an adult and how to function and flourish and be a successful adult. I feel like we are all in the same age group where we're like, yeah, we're adults, but how do I adult though? And I feel like this could be a really good approach if you are struggling with that same question. So I hope this was helpful. It was a little bit jumbly. Like I said, I'm a little flustered. I am absolutely sweating right now. It's 94 degrees, so I apologize if it was a little bit all over the place, but I hope this was a good view into quarterly reviews. Again, I have another video from Q1 if you want to check it out, so definitely do so. And good luck with quarter 3. I hope you do end up doing these quarterly reviews. Let me know in the comments if you do. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you in next week's video.